This game stinks. That was how Nintendo tried to market Earthbound for the Super Nintendo, a turn-based role-playing game born from the mind of famed Japanese actor and writer Shigesato Itoi, known for being, well, incredibly weird. Technically part of the three-part Mother series, Earthbound was the only title from this trilogy to make its way to North America during its original run. With that said, it has managed to gain quite a cult following for good reason. Attempting to be the story told from the point of view of a young boy from a small middle American town that gets visited by an alien from the future who warns him of the impending destruction of the world by the alien Gygus, our hero, whose default name is Ness, must set off on an epic adventure across this weird and often nonsensical world, which is filled with references to 50s sci-fi B-movies, the Blues Brothers, and more. Despite all the references to American culture, this title was made by a team that reportedly had nobody on it who had ever been to North America. But regardless, upon release it was an absolute smash hit in Japan. In the US and Canada, on the other hand, well, a slogan of "this game stinks," instead of tapping into 90s tood, instead resulted in sales that, well, stunk. Perhaps what makes Earthbound so compelling even today is its corruptions of popular American tropes and combination of aspects of Japanese turn-based RPGs. At the beginning of the game, you name your 4 playable characters, main protagonist Ness, along with 3 others who have default names of Paula, Jeff, and Pooh. One of the most meaningful game choices early on comes when, after inputting your characters' names, the game asks you to input the name of your favorite homemade food. Oh, and more importantly, the name of your favorite thing. Doing so will affect a few character interactions in-game, along with affecting the name of your main PK attack, which is a psychic energy magic attack you can use during battles. Think of it as your main special move of sorts. Other odd yet charming points in the game story come both roughly half through in Saturn Valley, and also towards the end of the game when the game up and decides to take a coffee and tea break respectively. Seriously, up until these points, I as a player felt incredibly immersed into this weird and wacky game world as the story has approached its climax, but by the characters taking a snack break so the game can give me a recap of events so far and also give me a motivational speech to keep going towards the final boss, it forces me to take a step back and often just laugh at the ridiculousness of the events up to this point. These, by the way, have ranged from fighting a KKK-esque looking cult that wants to paint the town blue, to helping a Blues Brothers tribute band get out of debt. Of course, Earthbound hasn't remained popular due to just being weird. With that said, as out there as its many story and world building elements are, most of its gameplay aspects are remarkably tame. It has interactivity on par with other JRPGs of the time, involving you roaming around an overworld map consisting of towns and landmarks, fighting enemies that appear on the overworld, and interacting with NPCs. However, the battle system here is rather unique in one aspect. Though you still fight enemies, equip weapons, and gain experience through the defeat of enemies like in other RPGs, instead of your health simply dropping upon being hit with an attack, your health counter actually begins to roll down, often at a fairly slow pace. This means that often an attack that in other such games would be lethal can actually be avoided by quick and careful healing. Also, enemies that are more than a few levels lower than you are automatically defeated upon interacting with them on the overworld map, which makes level grinding here mostly a non-issue. Earthbound is an incredibly unique game that combines attributes of Japanese role-playing games with stereotypes about American culture that was made by people who had never actually been to the United States or Canada. However weird as it is, it never comes off as mocking or critical of American culture, rather instead seeking to explore it and combine it with some elements of Japanese culture, and well, just general oddity in order to craft a gaming experience that was and is truly unlike any other. I'd say the best official way to play Earthbound is via the Wii U, as much as I love my physical Super Nintendo cartridge, those now often fetch upwards of $200 CAD. And that's a real shame, as it is a truly original and unique game that most definitely doesn't stink.